Coming up on the next episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
She's been featured in more than 20 films from the early days of film and television.
He is a psychotherapist and her loving husband.
Together, they are on a mission to brighten your day and your life.
It's a time to smile, a time to laugh, a time to expect more.
It's time to get inspired with your hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Brunell.
It's time to meet Zuzu, all grown up.
Do you believe that life is wonderful in principle, but for some reason just isn't so consistently in practice? Every life will have its ups and downs. But have you ever thought that if there were only more people around you encouraging, uplifting, and even inspiring you, then life would be more fulfilling? If only people like George and Mary Bailey were in your inner circle, then life could truly be wonderful all the time? If so, we've got good news for you, because you can find such people on this podcast and at zuzunetwork.com. This podcast is the vision of Karolyn Grimes, Zuzu, and Dr. Brunell, illustrating how the timeless message of It's a Wonderful Life can be and is applied to our modern lives and situations. Indeed, when you take that message to heart, your life will become immeasurably more wonderful. Visit us at zuzunetwork.com and listen to this podcast series to learn more about how. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy another episode of Zuzu, All Grown Up.
In just a moment, we'll be joined by actor and animal activist Stephen Benson. As an entertainer, his accomplishments are vast, from roles in the Ten Commandments and Brewster's Millions, but it's his work with animals that is the most inspiring. He'll join us today to share his life story with us and a current situation he's sadly facing where he could use our help.
Get ready for miracles. Get ready for Zuzu. All grown up.
On today's special episode of Zuzu All Grown Up, he had roles in movies spanning from the Ten Commandments to Brewster's Millions. Since then, he's cared for thousands of animals in need of shelter and love at his Happy Acre Sanctuary. But now he's been given just 6 months to live, and he joins us today to recall his life and ask for your urgent help. Steve Benson is here with us today with a touching and important farewell message.
We have somebody very special today. I'm really excited. Stephen Benson is our guest. Stephen has had a sanctuary for animals called Happy Acres for a number of years, but he's going through a real rough time now. And before all of this, he appeared in a number of movies. He was even in the Ten Commandments. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So let's start by telling us who you are and where you're from.
Okay, I'm Stephen A. Benson. I was born in East Hollywood, California, raised in West Hollywood, went to school in the Miracle Mile and Hollywood, was born into a show business family. My grandfather was at 20th Century Fox from 1924 when it was Fox Western till he passed away in May of 1957. My mother was a casting director. My grandmother was a bit player and an extra for, well, until I was born, from 1920s on. When I came into this world, I came into a family that did nothing but show business. If you didn't do show business, my grandfather said, get out and change your name to Schwartz, Cohen, whatever. You know, you're out of here. But there was only one or two relatives. We covered everything from craft services to being executive producers later in television. So I had a wonderful, wonderful early life. I had a career, except I ended up having a disorder and it would affect my work permit. So I didn't get to work constantly. I was lucky enough to be in the Ten Commandments. I was also in Private War Major Benson, which is another story. Good morning, Miss Stubb. I was the littlest Cub Scout and one of the students. And 7-year itch, I gave my mother a hard time in the train station behind Tom Ewell. And so that was my early years. I later got to do stunts as far as doing my own balls and drags and little things like that and playing with my guns. As a child, I was supposed to be a Western B-movie star, but in 1948, television took over, so I was going to be a TV hero. So I got training. Stevie Myers and Russell Hayden and Ben Johnson taught me to ride horses. Skeeter Vaughn taught me to throw knives and hatchets. He was a gray otter. Joseph Vince taught me fencing. And then Rod Redwing started to teach me the Colt single action Army revolver. And I became a fanatic. I ended up having a career in rodeos and amusement parks, doing gun tricks, juggling, and fast draw. I used to do it with live ammo with Bell Reed in the 70s and 60s and got pretty proficient at it. He was a world champ, though. So I always was second fiddle, or the silver medal, as he used to say, which was okay with me, I guess. No problem. More about the things that I did in the industry. I did so much because my family did so many jobs. I did a lot of different jobs. It was really fun. I packed up my animals and came to this place called Brunell, Nevada, and just played with that. It was easier for me to play with animals than deal with people. And so that's what I ended up doing for the last 30 plus years. Didn't mind at all. In fact,
Yeah.
I had more fun doing that than show business.
So, Stephen, as an actor in the movie The Ten Commandments, what was your role and how was it being in a film of that magnitude, especially with Charlton Heston?
Okay, I was in most of the mob scenes. Many, to put it bluntly, in show business back in the mid 50s, if you had brown hair or you would dye your hair brown and you were in the Screen Actors Guild, Screen Actors Guild, you had a job. It was only $25 a day for kids because we couldn't have overtime. But when we were in those mob scenes, there was all of us and everybody they could find up in Ridgecrest and Barstow at Dumont Dunes and all that for the crowds of thousands. My part in it was many of the walking scenes, as well as a scene with a burro where 3 of us are pushing a girl on a burro. That was, hold on, give me a flash for here and I'll come up with it because Kimberly Marie Colburn, who later I went to Hollywood Professional School with. So we got to that. And then the close-ups of us was done on the back of Paramount Lot. And that was cool. Marie and I stayed friends till she passed away about 2 years ago from cancer.
We know that you were taught by Rod Redwing, a trick shooter and stuntman and an actor in Western films, to do gun acts. So like juggling and tricks at age 7. Can you explain what that involved and what type of tricks you did?
Okay, you have a holster and your 2 guns. You could spin them in, spin them out, rotate them, flip them, do road agent spins, curly bill, brooches. Give you that one. You're handing the guns butt first to the person, and you flip and roll them, cocking them and firing them upside down. Billy Brocious did it to Sheriff White in Tombstone during the OK Corral era. And Sheriff White, who got shot, it was such a fast trick that it amazed people. In fact, Bell Reed does it and you just see a flash, the bang. I do the road agent. Why Bell and I got along so well, I went and did different tricks that he did, so not to conflict with him. In fact, a couple of times when I was still doing one gun act, he'd have me open them for him, which was really cool. And then he'd come out with two guns, and we were teenagers. He was 19 and I was like 16. And the other time we did it, I was about 22. It was really cool. Like when I was young like that, Monty Montana, an actor, cowboy western actor, put together the Monty Montana Rodeo Review. And we went around the United States, and that was really cool. Getting to be a grand marshal, and my God, I forgot to tell, but it was someplace in Utah when we were there. And it was like he's riding in town, waving and having all those good times.
So who was Monty Montana?
He was one of the Western stars, along with John Wayne,
Okay.
Tim Holt, Tim McCoy, and all that. He was, in fact, later years, he was the voice of Mr. Ed on this show, Mr. Ed.
Mm-hmm.
That was the fun thing. So other actors like Russell Hayden, who was a second lead, went to becoming a producer. And he produced, besides 26 Men, Judge Roy Bean. He also produced that. I was very fortunate to be around him because my grandfather was at 20th Century Fox and was there in the days of silent actors.
Mm-hmm.
And we had William Boyd, who became later Hopalong Cassidy, doing young masculine heroes in leads. And then later with talkies, he got to stay. And ended up eventually doing Hopalong Cassidy. And before I was born, and during World War II, he sold his ranch in Malibu and scraped up all the money and bought all the rights and the recordings of Hopalong Cassidy. And he really was a smart businessman. And he marketed Hopalong Cassidy, and you saw Hopalong Cassidy milk in Fresno. You saw Schwinn bicycle making the Hopalong Cassidy bike in black and white with saddlebags and two little plastic guns in the front. And I got one for Christmas, and it was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started playing with the guns, and he saw that I was fast. Then, hence, Rod Redwing got a hold of me and started training me, and I was in the act with him till I was 14 and did a very dumb thing. We all make mistakes.
Well, now you have to tell us. What did you do?
Okay, at 14, there was Billy the Kid in real life, and I wanted to know if I could do it. And we were going into the Sands Hotel, and a drunk came over, and I was supposed to always shut up, be quiet, don't do anything, and let Rod handle it. So Rod is arguing or debating with the man, and I sneak a 5-in-1 blank in my pistol because we were going in to do a demonstration. So I was all dressed up, and I turned it around. And when the gentleman got real smart, I just kind of bumped Rod out of the way, and poof, when he went for his gun, I lit him up with a blank, and his leather vest was smoking and smoke. So that was my big boo-boo. Rod said, not allowed, blanks. And since he had leather on, I thought, hey, what the heck, we'll find out. That was the end of my Rod Redwing career, but I kept doing now solo, and then got to run around the country, going to Six Flags and Knott's Berry Farm and places like that in the rodeos, like I said.
Yeah.
But what I enjoy more was once I left Hollywood and came here and got to play with animals, because it was fun and learning about the animals and stuff. Where it all started was Frank Innes, an animal trainer, used to work for Rod Weatherwax, who had the Lassie system. And what I mean by system, more than one dog. One for the shots and the close-ups, one that did the running, one that did the jump, the stand-in, and all that. Well, Frank went out on his own, and he got a basset hound named Cleo. And if there's any antique people out there, they'll remember in early television, The People's Choice with Jackie Cooper. Well, Cleo was in it, and Cleo became quite famous on her own. Well, I was on the show, and I've had this wonderful knack with animals, and I watched what he did, and I repeated it, and I got the dog. When he would go do the shot with the animal, he'd be giving us one sign, and I'd be standing off to the side giving another, and it would do what I was signaling. And it drove Frank crazy, the director, and everybody. So they had to get me out of there. It was the only way they could get the shot if I was gone. And that's when we found out I had this knack. I just always, when on a set, would go to the animal trainer, you know, and learn and stuff. So I had all this knowledge in it, and I put it to use here.
You know, with your special connection with animals, what actor rode a horse named Pie in 17 Westerns that female showwoman Stevie Myers owned? Stevie
Myers was one of the best stunt women and horse trainer and teaching you equestrian art, whether it be English, whether it be American Western or whatever. And she had horses, and she had a horse named Pie. This horse was so smart and wonderful. Well, Randolph Scott rode Pie in 9 or 11 movies, and all but one. And that was because Jimmy Stewart, who was not a cowboy, Stevie taught him to ride and get along with Pie, and he was doing Cheyenne Social Club. And so he rode Pie, and Randolph Scott was going, well, Stevie got another horse for him to ride. But if you look at Randolph Scott Westerns, they're always the same horse.
Well, Karolyn was in a movie with Randolph Scott called Albuquerque. I wonder if he was in that one. We'll have to check it.
You have had an animal sanctuary for 30 years. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What made you take on the challenge of working and living with animals found too difficult to care for? I guess people got rid of them and they didn't want to keep them, and you took them.
What happened was, when I will back this up and bring it into place, in 1970, I rescued a Great Dane, a Boston Harlequin Great Dane. And I trained it, and it did things. Well, about 3 days after I had gotten him and started working with him, I got a call from Quinn Martin Productions to come down and see about doing a cannon. And I said, gee, guys, I have this new dog, I can't. And they said, okay. Well, Quinn Martin got in there and said, I'll have a pass at the gate for the dog, have Stephen come in. So I come in, the dog lays down at my side, but perfect. And we have the interview. I get the job, and he says, I'll deal with your agent on you. Is that dog always like that? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay, and that's the bookie's dog, and we'll give you $125 for the dog for the day. So my dog started working. And he kept working. Well, we went everywhere. And in 1970, I had a friend that had St. Elizabeth Retirement Home, convalescent hospital. And I had to go see him about something. So I put Big in the little side yard and closed in, went inside, not thinking about it. We're talking, and all of a sudden, all the people are crowded around the double windows going, what's going on? I says, oh, Big's out there. I just left. He says, well, the dog? I said, yeah. He says, goes over and looks. He says, would the dog come in the hospital? I said, sure, no problem. He loves people. He thinks he's a goodwill ambassador and everybody should pet him. So I bring him in and they just all went crazy. And Clark said, hey, would you keep doing this? The people love it and they're enjoying it. So I started taking them to the convalescent hospital and everybody loved it. So I basically started therapy animals before there were therapy animals and started taking them to the motion picture hospital.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
Pass it on.
This time of upheaval is causing me to look a little deeper inside myself, looking for some goodness. And this is what I've found. I'm more aware of my neighbor's well-being. I'm saying thanks to those who help keep my life as normal as possible. My mail carrier, my grocery cashier, my delivery person. I find myself caring about others instead of just looking out for myself. And oh, my goodness, does it feel good. Goodness is in you.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
Start your morning right with premium coffee roasts available at ZuzuNetwork.com and drink them in your Zuzu All Grown Up coffee mug. Also perfect for tea and hot chocolate.
Stay inspired throughout the day with the same gratitude journal used by Karolyn and Chris, and check out t-shirts, hats, books, Christmas keepsakes, and more at ZuzuNetwork.com/shop.
Join Zuzu's network today at ZuzuNetwork.com/join.
Karolyn is creating an international network of aspiring angels, everyday people who believe that they can help make the world a better place by making life better for even just one other person.
Let us know you want to earn your wings at ZuzuNetwork.com/join, and Karolyn and Chris will send you inspirational material to support you in your journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in Wonderful Land, today an urgent appeal. Today's guest, Steve Benson, has entertained us for years. He was a little boy in the 10 Commandments and now asks us to think of the Golden Rule. He needs your help. Doctors have told him he has 6 months to live. Hundreds of animals that he shelters through his Happy Acre Sanctuary depend on him. With mounting medical bills, he can no longer afford to care for them. Please consider helping him and the Happy Acre Sanctuary as more long-term solutions are realized. Any donations will help him and help shelter and feed animals in his care. Go to happyacresanctuary.com/donations and do it today. All donations are tax deductible to the extent allowed by the law. That's happyacresanctuary.com/donations.
We're back with more Zuzu All Grown Up.
When I got to Nevada, first thing I did, besides bringing my cockatoo, was get a Boston Harlequin Great Dane named Mona Lisa, trained her so she could be certified as a therapy dog, and Delta certified Chickadee, my umbrella cockatoo, and it would ride on Big and go with me, and we'd go into the hospital, and the people used to love it because just like Big and Mona Lisa, they didn't have to be down to pet them. They were up there. they could lay in bed and pet the dog. And bringing in an umbrella cockatoo on a few occasions, it would buff out and show the people and not squawk, which was when it started to squawk, we had to stop bringing her because hospital.
So, Stephen, we understand that you live by the creed of St. Francis, giving unconditional love and care to all creatures, large and small. Is it true that you had a wolf named Kina that lived in your house with you and some other animals?
Oh, yeah. I had 7 or 8. At the time, I had an Akita that I did get that was having an aggression problem with animals, and I took care of that. And for 6 years, she ran around with the wolf, in around here. I had an acre of land, so we could move around. I had a chance to get this wolf because the people who had it, homemakers, and we had a big boom. So this gentleman contractor was building houses for him. His wife got a hold of the wolf. Well, when things slowed down here, they transferred him to Florida. And they went down to Florida and they went to the county and they told him what animals they had. And they said, well, if you bring the wolf here, we confiscate it and order off. We kill it. That put his wife into a flipped out frenzy. When they came back to Pahrump, they were looking around and they talked to some people that knew me and said, hey, call this guy. So I got a call and they brought Kina over and we hit it off. And they said, well, we're leaving in June. And this was like April. So I had time to work with the animal and did. They brought it to the person, which was about June 1st. I slept in the kennel with her, and everything was fine, but it was chain link. I get up to go take a shower in the morning, and not gone 3 minutes, I look out, she ate a hole in the bed and pooped. So I called the owners and said, she got out, what she did, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to order a special kennel. And I have them all around the house now. They're made out of heavier metal and they're called livestock cheating. And we got that made. And so on about the 15th of June, they brought it back and she came. I put her in the kennel with it. And that first night I slept with her in there. She kind of growled, but didn't move. Second night, a little bit and everything. The third night, she snuck over and she marked above my head, at my shoulder, down at my feet in the bottom, and then came and laid beside me. And that was it. I finally bonded. I slept every night with her in that kennel for 40 some odd days. When she came into the house to live at night, it was all in good because I bonded with her and she'd gotten used to all of the other animals and she just fit in. And I just was in love with that. And what I would do is take animals that have illness or medical problems and give them a home for life and to get their meds or whatever, because I had sponsors that helped me from Hollywood Professional School. All the kids could not believe that the monster could do this and play with all these animals, because I was quite rambunctious in school.
What was the most remarkable success story of all the animals that you've had at Happy Acre Sanctuary?
Oh man, I've had so many. This was like a Zen ranch with a big aura film around it, and everybody got along. It was so much fun because all the animals interacted together, and we all got along. I could stack bales of hay and all that good stuff. And what brought the sanctuary is I started getting animals. Then some friends at a Hollywood Professional School that went with me decided, instead of me just being a animal sanctuary, I should become a 501c3 sanctuary, so I can get donations and they could write them off and all that.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
To find out more about the organization featured in today's episode or a previous episode, and to learn more about how you can help, go to zuzunetwork.com/beanangel.
We're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Zuzu's book club features recommendations from Zuzu herself on books she loves and thinks you will love also. All of the books that the club reads, fiction and nonfiction, are inspirational and uplifting. Folks, this is a life-enhancing club to be part of. You can sign up for free at zuzunetwork.com/book club. That's zuzunetwork.com/book club.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income, no matter how long you live. Call 888-288-7088, 888-288-7088. Sponsored by GP Agency, Inc., Raleigh, NC. Licensed in all states. Performance may vary. Consult your financial professional before making an investment decision.
This is Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Well, I ended up becoming a nonprofit business the way I set it up. So it was even better and more fun. But I got to play with animals. I could take animals that were hurt or scared or whatever and retrain them and throw them into the clan. At one point, I had 11 horses, 15 feral cats, 5 domestic in the house cat, 10 dogs, a burro, a miniature horse, 2 ponies, and 3 Mustangs and 4 horses, all stuffed on the 1 acre, all happy, running around, having a great time. And so how could I not be happy, you know? I saw the results of what I could do. And then the county even noticed it, and I became a member of the Nye County Animal Advisory Board for 8 years, taking care of problems that occurred. And for me, it was like the greatest thing. I created the Brunell Animal Extravaganza in about 2005 and got all the rescues that were in good standing, not in default, and put them all together and got Nate Tannenbaum, the weather person for Channel 13 at the time in Las Vegas, who I was the Rump weather watcher for, to come out and do the auction. And we had a bake sale and hot dogs and hamburgers. And all the groups would bring something that they would do to raise money. But all the money that was got from the bake sale, the hot dogs, and the auction, and Betty White and some others were wonderful. They'd always sign autograph pictures, so we have things to auction. And he'd come out. Then we'd take all that money and divided equally amongst the rescues that were there. And it was, the community really took to it. And we did it for like 5 years. So.
So your program runs strictly on donations, and knowing the high cost of food and animal care, medical care, what is your greatest need today to keep your operation going?
Money for the vets. Vets have been
Okay.
so out of sight. And I have animals that have to go to the vet and get pills. Like I said, I have Sammy. Sammy's been here for 13 years. She's 14 years old. And Sammy is a dual personality. We have Sammy the dog from hell and Samantha. How Sammy came to me is we had the Symphony Animal Foundation. And that lady was using me as a person that could make judgment on whether a dog was vicious, dangerous, or just needed work. Sammy, I get a call from her saying she has a 5-month-old. It actually turned out to be a Jack Russell and Pit mix. It was supposed to be a small terrier, and she said it was a male and it comes female. Well, Sammy hated everybody. I guess as a puppy, she was adopted out, and the grandmother and the grandson, grandmother abused the kid abused the dog, and they got into trouble, goes to the shelter. They adopted out. It just turned into more of a basket case. Back it comes. Symphony gets it, and they give it to a lady that was supposed to take care of it for the time. So they take it home for the animal and keep it. Well, the first night it was a holy terror. Hence, Symphony calls it, wants me to evaluate Sammy. Well, Sammy comes here. I still have the chain link kennel standing. Sammy came here. All Sammy was doing was be terrorizing and biting, literally bending the fence. She took the one thing, an Abyssinian cat. She made friends with that, and to hell with everybody else. After about 3 days of me feeding it, I guess I became okay. And hence then the training started. And they come back from Symphony and said, well, what about Sam? I said, well, Sammy is Samantha, and I wouldn't guarantee who or what she would or would not bite. And they said, well, we'll just put it down. I said, no, it's a candidate that would fit in here. Now, Sammy right now is laying down beside me, sound asleep. It took a lot of work, but she now loves people, everything. And she has now kidney problems. So I have to give her medicine and go to the vet a lot. But that was the last batch of dogs towards the end. All were medical. Luna was a half Mastiff, English Mastiff, and half Great Dane, and big goof. But she had doggy diverticulitis. So she had to have meds all her life. And she stayed here 10 years now until she passed. Because I am getting sick and that stroke, I stopped bringing in new animals and started just taking care, and attrition has slowly worked them down. Well, I had Princeton was a coyote dog, and they couldn't adopt it, so it came here, and he was just awesome. He stayed for 11 years and then started having hip dysplasia, and I had to put it down. Well, Sammy went into a funk, a bad. Wouldn't eat, just slept, wouldn't do anything. And we had an incident, and at the time I was on the board of directors for Desert Haven Animal Society. And we had the contract to run the animal shelter for Nye County. And we had a gentleman who bred a lot of dogs, Caucasian Shepherds. And in April of 2022, we got some of the dogs away from him and some puppies. And I have one scared 2.5-year-old Caucasian Shepherd. Well, to finish this story, in August, we had national news about these Caucasian Shepherds. One got mauled and taken to another rescue who brought it to a vet, and it came out he had 200 and some odd dogs between Amargosa Valley and his home in Pahrump, and he couldn't take care of them. There was all kinds of problems. The National SPCA came in and helped, and they did an amazing job, but there was like 230 dogs. And when they got done with them in August and September, I think they had to be put down over 200 of them because of illness or temperament or aggression and all these things. Because Caucasian Shepherds are used for guard dogs. In Russia, they're all the guard dogs in the penitentiaries. So their temperament isn't the world's greatest.
Yeah.
Your program runs strictly on donations.
Donations and grants.
Okay.
So if someone wants to donate and help you out, help these beautiful dogs out, how would they go about doing that? How can they contact you?
They go to our website, www.happyacresanctuary.org, and there is a page about donations and PayPal.
Okay, you want to give us that address again?
Sure. www.happyacresanctuary.com or org. We have both addresses.
Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank you,
us
Stephen.
today. I'm telling you, this has been very interesting. I didn't know there were some of the types of dogs you even talk about, and I just can't imagine a wolf being that close to you. I mean, there's so many exciting stories that you shared with us. And so I thank you very much for joining us, and happy trails.
Do you know someone who is earning their wings? Someone practicing kindness and service to others? Perhaps an organization or initiative helping make the world we live in a kinder, sweeter place.
Or maybe you've witnessed the miraculous, the divine, the magnificent in some way in your life and you'd like to share it with others. Go to zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory and let us know more.
You may end up being featured on an upcoming episode of Zuzu All Grown Up. That's zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory. Now here's Seth Kennedy with today's parting thoughts.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in wonderful land, today an urgent appeal. Today's guest, Steve Benson, has entertained us for years. He was a little boy in the 10 Commandments and now asks us to think of the Golden Rule. He needs your help. Doctors have told him he has 6 months to live. Hundreds of animals that he shelters through his Happy Acre Sanctuary depend on him. With mounting medical bills, he can no longer afford to care for them. Please consider helping him and the Happy Acre Sanctuary as more long-term solutions are realized. Any donations will help him and help shelter and feed animals in his care. Go to happyacresanctuary.com/donations and do it today. All donations are tax deductible to the extent allowed by the law. That's happyacresanctuary.com/donations.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We hope you've been inspired. Inspired to live your most wonderful life now and to help those around you do the same.
Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, there are people who care about you, and your life makes a difference.
It is a wonderful life.
Check out ZuzuNetwork.com for more on today's and other episodes, including transcripts and merchandise you won't want to be without.
New episodes are coming soon.
For transcripts of today's broadcast, go to ZuzuNetwork.com/transcripts. Zuzu All Grown Up with your hosts Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunell.
Announcer and guide Seth Kennedy.
Executive producer Kevin R. Stillmock.
Coordinating producer Holly Ann Way.
Technical producer Stella Joelle.
A Wonderful Land production.
In collaboration with Radio Wonderful.